Hello, I'm Wilda Nilsestuen of the Caring for Creation group of Bethel Lutheran Church. We're celebrating June as Environmental Stewardship Month, and this week I want to talk to you about the source of our commitment to preserving and protecting the environment. I was thinking the other day about a small moment that occurred long ago in an adult education class at my church in Northern Virginia. The speaker was making deliberate connections to biblical passages that point us to God's command for stewardship of the earth. When he was finished, a man in the audience said, "It never occurred to me that caring about the environment was a moral concern. I've always considered it my civic duty," and I responded to that. Why did my brain choose to preserve this little snippet? Perhaps because it had never occurred to me it wasn't a moral issue. The first paragraph in Ben Logan's well-loved book, The Land Remembers, reads, "Once you have lived on the land and have been a partner with its moods, secrets, and seasons, you cannot leave. The living land remembers, touching you in unguarded moments, saying, 'I am here, you are part of me.' That speaks to me deep in my bones." I grew up on a farm in coulee country in western Wisconsin. It was impossible to miss God's hand in the very formation of the land and in the sun, rain, and soil that we depended upon for our very livelihood. That daily connection inspired deep respect, admiration, and a real appreciation for the land ethic and values it represents, and a duty to protect and preserve them. Making the connection that stewardship of the environment starts with God's command to Adam to serve the garden and keep it, that is, take care of it, look after it, is based on the admonitions to steward nature's riches that occur repeatedly throughout the Bible. The social statements our ELCA Synod has issued on caring for creation point to a half-dozen examples of how we have been tasked to care for the earth, and also man's relationship to the rest of creation. We are asked to see ourselves as servants, caretakers, intimately related to all creation. The ELCA statement also points out how we have failed our responsibilities to creation care and the environmental crisis that has resulted, that we must now confront directly and aggressively with an eye toward justice and hope for all. We are called to govern creation with wisdom. Wisdom is discerned in every culture and every era in different ways. In our time, science and technology can help us to discover how to live according to God's creative wisdom. There's a strong connection between stewardship and discipleship. Our earth system is abundant and incredibly intricate and complex. It is our obligation to care for, sustain, and replenish it. That is stewardship. Discipleship covers a broad expanse of what it means to live a Christian life. Public theologian and activist Jim Montal asks, what is discipleship in a climate crisis? And he answers the question as reconciliation with the earth. He points out important factors that must guide this reconciliation. He contends that we can no longer sacrifice the environment to economic growth, as we have for centuries throughout our own ignorance, neglect, and abuse. He says we need moral leadership that points the way to a vision for a more responsible future. And we need accountability, personally and collectively, for what we have done to our natural heritage. And we will certainly require collaboration on an unprecedented scale. Cal DeWitt, pastor and environmentalist who has spoken at Bethel twice in recent years, chimes in with the steps to this healing process in this order. He says, first, we need awareness. We need to understand the problem. The second he calls appreciation. Acknowledge that learning is not doing, awareness is not action. And finally, stewardship. These are the actual actions that address the problem. We can stand in awe of the earth's beauty, diversity, and bounty that nourish our bodies and our souls. But as Wendell Berry said, let me be worthy of my meat. We've been talking about caring for creation as an obligation. It is also a privilege. We have some agency. We can choose, individually and collectively, to affect present and future health and bounty of the God-given resources entrusted to our care. If ever there was a time for humanity to collaborate toward a common good, it is now. And there's reason for hope. I will cite 3. First, there have been, and there are, hundreds of thousands of scientists from multiple disciplines, including our own John Kutzbach, who dedicated his very consequential career to climatology. Scientists who have studied the past, explored cumulative and overlapping effects of centuries of change, and who seek innovations to create solutions to issues we are faced with today. Secondly, there is hope now because of the international concern for what is recognized as a shared problem across the globe, and there are efforts to compare findings and strategize on potential solutions. And third, new voices are joining the Caring for Creation chorus. Lots of new hope there. Some voices are coming from the pulpit, some from corporations and affected industries, some from financial institutions who fear the cost of long-term effects, some from everyday citizens who can see for themselves significant changes to their lives and living conditions, and many voices from young people who grasp the existential nature of the threat. So let us encourage each other with the possibilities of a better informed population, and eagerness to do our part and collaborate in the neighborhood and across the globe for a better future, compelled by conscience, common sense, and Christian discipleship. Let's end with prayer. God of green, open our ears to hear the cries of the forest. Open our lips to praise you in the joy of our creation. Open our eyes to see the wonders of the earth. Open our hearts and stir us to action. Strengthen our resolve and empower us to stand in love for creation. Amen.